roof has to span completely from the ground over the top of the stadium and totally envelop the stadium without actually touching the bowl.
To keep the bird's nest from collapsing in an earthquake, engineers plan to separate its beams from the stadium bowl underneath. But with so many lives at stake, the engineering team builds in even more seismic protection. They divide up the bowl itself into independent sections. If an earthquake strikes, its deadly energy will rattle each section, but won't shatter the stadium.
So effectively it's 8 separate buildings inside, all joined together with a movement joint of about 300 millimeters. So each one can move independently during an earthquake.
But Mother Nature isn't the only mighty force the stadium's engineers must design for.
The IOC, that's the International Olympic Committee, are responsible for all the venues where the Olympics held, and they set down some very clear criteria that we have to satisfy.
One of the most important requirements is that everyone who buys an Olympic ticket can actually see the events. Arup will have to ensure it builds all 90,000 stadium seats with clear lines of sight for dozens of Olympic events. But like pulling a thread from a sweater, making even the tiniest change in the bird's nest design could have colossal consequences.
If we were to raise the first row of seats by maybe 100 millimeters, the effect it has is that the last seats are further away and higher up, and the stadium will literally cost quite a few £1 million more just by that one minor change.
The solution? Using specially designed computer software, engineers will analyze 90,000 lines of sight in a virtual and inexpensive world. Virtual reality will also help Arup answer the biggest question of all. Will the bird's nest actually work?
We employed computer packages to actually construct the stadium in a virtual environment first within the computers, so that when we went through to the construction phase, we would know that every beam did fit together. It would all fit together perfectly as a jigsaw when it got onto site.
But other parts of the bird's nest will have to be built the old-fashioned way. Like installing a high-tech transparent membrane to keep sound in and weather out. And for this structure, even such a routine task will be a lot harder than usual.
Because of the randomness and the chaotic nature that Arup created with Herzogs, each cladding panel is actually different from every other cladding panel. This means that each one needs to be sized and fitted individually, which is a challenge.
Building the unbelievable doesn't come cheap. The first cost estimates for the bird's nest total $500 million. The massive retractable roof accounts for 1/8 of this mind-blowing price tag. Beijing goes into sticker shock, but work goes on. Then, suddenly, China brings work on the bird's nest to a halt. As tragedy strikes another high-profile project half a world away. In 2002, China rolls the dice on a dazzling design for the Beijing Olympic Stadium. But the marvel, dubbed the bird's nest, has officials on edge. Its design is incredibly complicated, and its price tag is off the charts. Then, in May 2004, a catastrophe in Europe sends shockwaves all the way to China. Only a few months after completion, the soaring roof of a new terminal at Charles de Gaulle Airport collapses, killing 4 people, 2 of them Chinese. Suddenly, the bird's nest gets an anxious second look.
A steel structure with an area as large as this is a first for the world. In order to ensure the safety of the steel structure, we made some improvements.
To make the stadium cheaper and safer, officials scrapped the retractable roof, eliminating tons of steel.
In this way, we kept the same shape and style while improving safety. It is absolutely safe.
But redesigning the bird's nest doesn't lift the shadow of the Paris tragedy. The architect of the collapsed airport terminal is Paul Andrew. When his terminal collapses, he's in China, designing one of Beijing's most astonishing projects. A massive titanium and glass dome, the largest dome ever constructed in China. 25,000 square meters of steel, nearly 30,000 square yards, without a single supporting column. Officially named the National Grand Theater, but universally known as the Egg.
The accident of the Charles de Gaulle airport was a big shock, of course, for me. I was in China when it happened, and the first thing I did on the morning after is to go and see the plant.
As French experts investigate the terminal's collapse, officials in Beijing wonder what their findings will mean for the Egg. But long before the Paris tragedy, the Egg's incredible design has inspired howls of protest and shouts of praise. Its shimmering dome floats on water like a mirage. Beneath the giant shell are 3 performance halls for theater, opera, and concerts. But strangely, it seems to have no doors.
There's no entrance, visible entrance, there's not.
To get inside the Egg, well-dressed opera buffs will have to go underwater. But they won't get wet. They'll descend into glass-roofed tunnels running underneath the Egg's surrounding lake and emerge into its spectacular interior.
Going to the opera is something ceremonial. You have to make a passage from the day-to-day activities.
Perhaps it's appropriate that a national theater inspires the same reactions as many of the world's most famous operas, symphonies, and plays. Either you love the Egg or you hate it.
Standing next to this thing, I defy anyone to not be moved by it. There's a weight to this thing that is just to be experienced.
A disaster. I have to use this word, a disaster, for the neighborhood.
To its critics, it looks like a spaceship has been dropped into our city.
Nothing upsets the Egg's critics more than its location. A stone's throw from China's architectural crown jewel, the fabled Forbidden City. And directly opposite China's icon of government, the Great Hall of the People.
The location of the National Theater, I think, is not so proper because it's so close to the Tiananmen Square. Tiananmen Square is, I think, the most important place in China.
The Forbidden City is one of the world's great works of design and architecture. Now you see over the golden roofs a large blob hovering, which is completely inappropriate.
The chorus of complaints doesn't go unnoticed. Officials decree that the massive dome must be lower than its neighbor, the Great Hall of the People. This pleases the Egg's critics and worries its builders. Meeting the government's height restriction will mean digging a foundation of unprecedented size.